this is your first time to my channel, welcome. My hope is that I can always offer you a warm cup of relaxation, tingles, and occasional story time. And if this is one of many times that you've been back to my channel, thank you so much for your support. So bisous. So today is going to be more of a serious ASMR. It is an experience that is universal. Every human being experience this experience, and that is the process of loss and the grief. So, as you can tell by my accent, I am of Haitian descent, Haiti. And one of the things you have probably seen in the news is the unfortunate assassination of the President Jovenel Moise. And recently there has been a New York Times article that interviewed the widow, First Lady Martine Moise. And as you can see in the image, in the photo, if you get a chance, I will drop the link below in the description box for you to see if you are interested. You can tell that she is still in mourning, obviously, and this is not going to be a video about politics, but it will be about coping with loss, because this is a major loss for her. But if you are looking at the human side, this woman lost a partner, a life partner, that has been with her for the past, I believe it was 25 years. In addition to that, three children lost their father in a very brutal way. So you have a wife and children that have dealt with loss. And I'm sure there has been somebody here that has experienced some form of loss. So first, let me express my condolence to you, to your family. And maybe it wasn't necessarily this week, but maybe it was last month or the month before. And maybe you are still trying to deal with it. Understand that you are not alone. You are not alone. You are not alone. You are not alone. You can wipe your tears, but you can still cry from time to time. Now, I also want to put a disclaimer. While I will be providing some techniques that could potentially help you cope with loss, I want you to know that this is not a substitution for a mental health professional to assist you throughout the way. I advocate for that if you feel like you need that additional support, but understand that grief and bereavement is a process, okay? So understand that loss is definitely one of life's most stressful events, and I have a great resource from the Mental Health Association that will kind of walk you through the circumstances and the experiences that you go through when you experience the loss of a loved one. Okay, so some emotion that you may experience include the concept of denial. Could this be? Is this really happening? Has this really happened? Have I really lost the love of my life? Have I lost my friend? Have I lost my sister? Have I lost my mother? I'm shocked. So now that denial becomes the concept of disbelief, because it's no, you cannot imagine a day without this person in your life. You voice message from my grandmother or my aunt. No, this cannot be. And then shock, right? Shock because this happened, and sometimes the shock is because of the severity in the way that the person has transitioned. For example, I know for the Haitian community, the assassination of Jovenel Moise, President Jovenel Moise, was very shocking. And even if you are not necessarily related, this was the first assassination from a very long time. Excuse me if my historical recollection is not accurate. If it is not, please comment below as to the last year that a president in the island of Haiti was actually assassinated. I believe it was 1915, which led to the occupation by the United States. So again, if that is incorrect, please, I want my favorite customers at Cafe ASMR to provide me with the accurate information, because we are all learning together. And then you deal with sadness and anger. You are just so sad, and it could be from a variety of things. Guilt. It could be that perhaps you were planning on taking your mother or your father to, a wonderful event, but you have been planning for it for years because maybe it was a very costly excursion, and then you have to save money to surprise them. And then something happened to your father. The father suffered a heart attack, or stroke, or maybe something more severe. Maybe they had a unfortunate allergic reaction to something, and then you feel guilty that you never took the chance and the opportunity to get things done. And then anger. Why? Especially if this is a result of maybe an illness, a long-going illness of a family member, or again the awful assassination of, maybe he wasn't necessarily the most beloved leader, but he was beloved by somebody or a few people, and then yearning, wanting them back, wanting to talk to them one last time, or no, wanting to continue talking to them. So, my customers, I want you to know those feelings are absolutely normal and common, and do not give yourself a time frame. Do not get a stopwatch. Do not get that, okay? You have to go through the process. You have to go through the process of grieving, because honestly, trying to absorb the impact of this loss is one process. Accepting that you are never going to see them in the flesh is another. And of course, the pain will absolutely ease as time goes by, and you will be able to continue to go on, because you know what you are going to do. You are going to then now transition to cherishing the memories that you have with your loved one. So always remember that the pain is there, and while it may sometimes feel like it never leaves, and maybe so, you will be able to go on with life, because you are going to embrace the legacy the person left for you in their lives, and you're going to keep that in your mind to continue on with process of grieving is normal. Now, sometimes the process of grief may become physiological, and I won't get too much into that, but some things might occur. Anxiety attacks may occur, maybe chronic fatigue, maybe you won't be able to go to sleep, which results in fatigue, intense, fatigue. And of course, if you ever have any challenges trying to fall asleep, just go ahead and click on one of my videos around tingling. I have a great tingling with my lint brush video. I have a DJ tingle, and I have another video where I can help you fall asleep in 18 minutes and 4 seconds. So feel free to click on any of those videos to help you fall asleep, because that is one of the circumstances of grief. So when you are going to that, you will realize, and sometimes you may feel faint. Maybe the day of the funeral or the burial or the ceremony to send the person off, it may be too much for your physiological self that you may faint. There have been people who have fainted because, of course, grief is a process. So this is absolutely common reaction to death. But of course, if it's prolonged, and I cannot tell you what prolonged means, but if it impacts your ability to work, if it's debilitating to your day-to-day life, to your ability to function, this is my favorite customer. I encourage you to connect with a mental health professional to help you. Now, sometimes you have people around you that may or may not understand the grief you are experiencing, and they're going to try to support you in the way that they can. And then sometimes the help that they think that they are giving does not necessarily help you. And I'll give you an example. So, say for example, your grandparent passed away at the prime age of 101. Your grandparent was a person who was a huge contributor to your life, to your upbringing, to who you are. And somebody come to you and say, well, they lived a good life. At least they lived a good life. It's almost like they're telling you, well, the person was 101 years old. That's a long time they lived their life. Yeah, it may have been time for them to go. However, what they don't understand that you are grieving is that you are grieving the wisdom that you had access to for many years. You are grieving the historical knowledge of the times that they lived in, and how you can no longer recount those beautiful times with them. They are grieving the support that they gave because of their experience in life. This is what they are grieving, and it's valid. And if someone out there has lost a grandparent, someone who has been there for a very long time in their life and in life in general, it is okay for you to cry, because that is a huge loss, not only to you but to the family line. And say a child pass away, sometimes they'll say it's okay because they are your angel. No. You are grieving the fact that you brought a life, and that life didn't have a chance to experience much yet. They may have died a day after they were born, 5 days after, or maybe 5 years after. It's the idea of unfulfilled dreams. It's the idea of the fact that they suffered. Their poor little bodies suffered. So of course, this is what you grieve, and it is valid. There are so many other kind of death, and sometimes people just have a way of trying to help you and in their own way validate their own emotions in the mix of it. And rather than, sometimes we have the feeling of anger and upset because we don't feel that they understand us and they don't understand the circumstances. Realize that everyone has their limit of understanding. Just who you are mourning, why you are mourning, and the process, because everyone's process is individualized. So finally, a couple of things to help you live with the loss and cope with the loss. Again, this is also in the form of a great article. This is an article that I got from the Mental Health Association that really is providing some great tips. So if you want to continue reading a little more in depth about it, I'm going to drop it in the description box. But make sure to surround yourself around people that care about you. Sometimes, depending on our personality, we may want to just go into a corner and really just stay there by ourselves, by our lonesome. And whilst for some people that may be a coping mechanism, I would say to tread lightly with that, because the more that you isolate yourself, the more difficult it will be to process the grieving and the bereavement, and too many thoughts that may be uncontrolled or unsupported will begin to flourish, which may potentially be more damaging than helpful. So find the relatives and friends who can understand your feelings. That's the key thing. They have to understand your feelings and validate it. And if you cannot, if unfortunately you do not necessarily have direct people, then you can find support group for that kind of community, because that, my friends, my favorite customers, is important. Make sure to express your feeling. People will come to you, and of course there will be some people that just ask to ask, and then there will be people that ask to genuinely know how you are doing. So when and you will have the intuition to recognize who is doing that just for face value, and who is doing that because they care about you. And when they do ask that, express your feelings, because that is going to help you through the process. Do not analyze the situation. Do not say, well, it takes time for the grief, because you first have to experience the denial, because I personally am in denial, and I am in disbelief that this person is no longer here. No. Don't go to that. If they ask you how you are feeling, you can say, I'm not feeling well. I feel awful, and I'm just so hurt that my husband is not going to be here anymore. I'm so hurt that my grandparent will not be here to have a cup of tea with me. I'm so sad because I didn't realize that was going to be the last brunch that we had. And then of course, take care of your health. Make sure to maintain communication with your family, communication with your medical professional. And again, I cannot emphasize this enough. Contact a therapist if necessary or a mental health professional, and have them support you through this. Also accept that life goes on, okay? And honestly, the person that has passed away, your loved one, your husband, your spouse, your friend, your relative, they would want you to continue making effort and making impact, because maybe one of the reasons why you feel so bad about the person's death is because of the big impact they had and continue to have. And my friend, my favorite customers, I guarantee that is what they would want you to continue doing with yourself too. Be patient with yourself. Be patient. Dealing with loss does not take a day. It can take months and sometimes years. Yes, years. And it depends on the process. But again, if it's debilitating, if the thought of the lost one is debilitating, where it is bringing on depression, anxiety, continuous anxiety attack, panic attack, you cannot sleep at night, you are not functioning, or you are depending on substances to help you cope, this is when you have to bring in a professional to help you. And that's my last tip, to seek help outside when necessary. Sometimes it's also good when you are joining these support groups to share the sorrow, to share the grief together. You know, maybe even come together and help each other out. One person go to another person's house to cook for them. The other maybe, help them with laundry, or maybe come by and have a cup of coffee or tea. But make sure that you do that. Again, coping with a lost one is not easy. So I extend my sympathy to you. I extend my condolences to anyone who has experienced this. It is not a pleasant feeling, but we know that unfortunately that is part of the experience of life. You will be well. You will be fine. And the community that you surround yourself will continue to support you. If you like this, please don't forget to subscribe. I appreciate you all, and I wish you all